The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the federal government to account for the spending of $460 million Chinese loan to fund the failed Abuja closed-circuit television project. The judge is compelling government to make available to the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) information on the total amount of money paid to contractors, with specific details of names of companies and local contractors involved in the $460 million loan obtained in 2010 from China by the federal government to fund the project. SERAP said the suit followed the disclosure in 2019 by the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, that, quote, Nigeria was servicing the loan, end quote, adding that she had no explanations on the status of the project. Well, joining us in our Abuja studio is a strategist, policy analyst, and group CEO, Global Investment and Trade Company, Baba Yusuf. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me, Veronica and Mike. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Right, as important as it is, or encouraging to see that some organizations are testing the laws, how concerning is it for you that we borrow monies, yet we cannot account for projects we say we want to execute with these monies we borrowed?
Thank you very much. This is yet another indicator of a critical issue that needs to be dealt with in governance in Nigeria moving forwards. You know, it's demonstrating the level of opaqueness in governance. To give a little background to that, as you mentioned, rightly so, this loan was secured in 2010 during the tenure of President Goodluck Jonathan. And interestingly, that $460 million, you know, is a takeout of a $600 million loan, you know, quote unquote soft loan that was taken from the Chinese Exim Bank, okay, with a 10-year moratorium, which means to be paid after 10 years, start counting after 10 years, that's the moratorium, and to be paid over a period of 10 years from the initial 10 years moratorium at an interest rate of 3% by the Chinese Exim Bank. Interestingly, the project was awarded by the Chinese firm ZTE Communications to execute the project. So the Chinese Exim Bank gave the project, and the Chinese firm is executing the overarching project. Of course, there are some elements, I believe, that are subcontracted to some local contractors. If you look at the judgment of His Lordship, the Federal High Court, you know, mandating the federal government to give details of this project, you will see that there are elements that actually require distilling because they are subcontract. Now, to your question, you know, government is a continuum, and that is why it is very important for us to have transparency, accountability, you know, in the way and manner the governance is done. Now it has gone to a situation where SERAP has to go to court, you know, to secure an order of mandamus to mandate a government agency or indeed a federal government to disclose the details, you know, of a contract secured almost 13 years ago, you know, in the public interest. This is a project for the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we heard the current Minister of Finance, you know, saying that she doesn't have details of the project, which means there's serious opaqueness in governance. And I can assure you, if we go around various agencies or governments, we'll find some of this kind of opaqueness, which is a reflection of things that need to be improved in governance in Nigeria moving forward.
All right. From your perspective and what you're seeing now, how challenging do you think it will be to recover these monies? Because this administration is going out now, and a new administration is going to come in with its own objectives. And although you said that government is a continuum, of course it's supposed to be, but How challenging do you think it's going to be to get these monies back?
Well, it's going to be an onerous challenge, Mike, because first of all, recall I mentioned it's a takeout of a $600 million loan. These are, part of a chunk of monies over a period of time secured as loans. And we know that the incoming president is going to go into social and economic headwinds. The Director General of the Debt Management Office mentioned potential 77 trillion naira debt stock that will be inherited by the incoming administration. And even as of 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, we still hear loans being secured. So it makes it more difficult for these loans to be repaid. But importantly, the value for money for the projects that have been contracted out or for which the loan have been secured is the more worrisome issue, the reason why possibly even the loans may not be repaid, which is an issue. So to be honest, I don't envy the incoming president. He's going to run into a lot of headwinds with regards to this kind of issues. If we take it a little back to the order of mandamus, the details of the order, basically is for us to know the details, but they haven't known the details, what next, really? Money has been spent, it has been given to people, we don't have details, we don't expect an incoming president, what will he do? Is he going to face the current economic and social realities of Nigeria, or is he going to start now looking with his team at issues around details of the project and how to get value for money, or what happened 10 years ago, 13 years ago? So you have a situation where someone will be put in a very terrible situation of having to run, and at the same time, looking behind at his back, which is a very bad situation for us. I hope and pray that moving forward, one of the critical things for the incoming president to do is to put a governance framework in place to ensure accountability and transparency, for us to have project dashboards that are very clear, with deliverables. Because part of the issue is we don't even know the actual deliverables of this project. Who is monitoring the project, milestone to milestone, and all that. And that is the challenge. It's a catch-22 situation for the incoming government, to be honest. And of course for the people of Nigeria, because these are taxpayers' money, these are revenues earned by Nigeria and Nigerians, and it is sad we are in this kind of situation.
Well, the president-elect had said that he is going to take tough decisions, and we are hoping that some of the tough decisions he will be taking is to beam his searchlight on some gray areas like this one that is being discussed as we speak. But how do we as a people begin to put government on its toes to ensure that it delivers on value for monies borrowed? How do we bring them to account when we have situations like this?
First of all, the incoming president is right, because for him to make any progress, he has to take tough decisions. He has to have the political will, which has been lacking over the years in Nigeria. That is the critical failure factor in the past years in Nigeria. You see, the vision is laudable, the concept is very good and nice, but the political will to ensure things are delivered the way they should be delivered has been an issue. I am very optimistic that the incoming president will have the political will. Now, moving on to the very important question, I like that question about how will Nigerians, the citizens, support the process and ensure that this kind of things do not happen moving forward. I want to say that the leaders in the case of the incoming president, and indeed the citizens, must be proactive, because as a people, we are a reactive people, Veronica and Mike. We always run after the fact. We are always running against the tide. We are not proactive. If not for the, very good move by Serap in 2019, interestingly, 2019, to take that action and move to court in 2019, leveraging the Freedom of Information Act to demand for information, which is the kind of steps to be taken by the people, you know, and to try to ensure things are done. But look at what happened. 2019, it is at the twilight of an administration in 2023 that we are getting a court order, you know, declaratory in nature to say that the federal government should give account of the loan. We don't expect this government to be able to give account of this loan. Indeed, they have mentioned they don't have the details. They have less than 1 week to go. So people should be proactive rather than reactive. Of course, constructively so. And I would like to sound like a broken record by saying in the past few weeks, we need to have what I call creative tension in Nigeria. Creative tension means calling people to account, taking the right step at the right time, and what I call constructive disruption, where we see things happening the way and manner they shouldn't. People should do the right thing, follow the proper legal process, take the necessary steps proactively. For example, when the loan was secured, what was the procurement process? People can take proactive steps to ensure that even before the project goes forward, you know, there are things that are done to curtail excesses or curtail failures. And with regards to also the people, we should hold our legislators to account, whereby we can be able to make them to come under Section 88 and Section 89 of the 1999 Constitution that empowers the National Assembly, you know, to take actions in a way and manner that it will improve our laws or also support the executive arm of government to ensure this kind of wastages don't happen. So as a people, we should be proactive. We have the Freedom of Information Act. We have all provisions within the law for us to hold government to account from day one. And I think if we do that, so some of these things will not be happening moving forward.
All right, for the purpose of enlightenment to a lot of our people, how important are the CCTV cameras to a city like Abuja?
A bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry, I lost you for
yes.
Go ahead.
Before
okay.
you go ahead with that question, Baba Yusuf, we need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue from there. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on break, we're speaking with our guest, Baba Yusuf, who is a strategist and policy analyst on the matter of a federal high court in Abuja ordering the federal government to account for the spending of $460 million Chinese loan to fund the failed Abuja closed-circuit television project. And Mike, you wanted to ask a question?
Oh, yes. I was asking Baba Yusuf, for the purpose of enlightenment, can you talk to us how important are CCTV cameras to a city like Abuja?
Mike, very good question. The level of insecurity in Nigeria started escalating, if you will recall, around 2008, 2009, when the Boko Haram insurgency was triggered. And it has been getting worse and worse and worse. Without de-emphasizing any part of this country, the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is the seat of power. And therefore, if there is no clear demonstration of capacity to secure the capital of a federal republic like Nigeria, it tells you then what situation we are in the country. And I think that was maybe the basis for saying we need to secure the capital. One of the action points was to set up the CCTV camera and have full coverage. Cities and countries around the world that have forward-thinking and move forward have done that. The likes of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates and, of course, the capital Abu Dhabi are examples, fully wired, and we have seen the importance and how that has impacted positively to securing the country and also engendering, investors' appetite and progressing their countries. So it is very important for us to demonstrate that. And symbolically also, if you are able to secure the capital, it becomes a model to be copied and to be cascaded across the country. So it goes without saying that this is a project that would have been laudable. This is a project that would have been a model, that would have been cascaded across the nation. And indeed, I won't be wrong to say that it would have been a basis and a standard to have improved the level of security in our country. Without this kind of technologies that will provide what you call the 2020 vision for the security operatives to see what is going on and indeed for the people, then how do you fight known and unknown enemies, covert and overt threats? How do you proactively do that? Like I said earlier, we're always reactive. So we wait until the deed is done. This is a country where a year or so ago, there was a security breach in the presidential villa. The house or the residence of the chief of staff was boggled. And we are told that, we are at the heels or we are chasing the criminals or whoever boggled the residence of the chief of staff of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Till today, we are not able to have any clarity with regards to what happened. This is the kind of negative impact of not having this kind of investments done. So to answer you without wanting to go further, because the issues are deep, it is very important for us to have this kind of cover.
Now, does this failed project, from the explanation you have given, reflect our position as to addressing matters of insecurity? Does it show how sincere or insincere we are at addressing matters of insecurity?
Of course, Veronica, can go on and on. This is just one amongst, in a list you can continue to tick in. We know what happened with the issue of the money meant for insecurity that was fretted away all over the place, that has become an issue of litigation, sadly so. People are facing the vagaries of insecurity. Families are being killed, people are being maimed, women are being raped. An entire society or community is being sacked year in, year out. And we hear people in government sharing the money that was supposed to be used to ensure that people are secured. So this is what happens. And then, one of the critical issues is successive governments find it more difficult, to react because the issues are piling up over the years. Becoming more multidimensional, an asymmetrical war that is being, dealt with in a transactional manner, in an operational manner. There is no overarching strategy that is clearly harnessed in a way and manner that is synchronized to ensure that you fight this, threat that has become a cankerworm. So failed projects like this, we lose money, the economy is impacted, we become somewhat enslaved to another country for a loan we have secured to execute a project that has not been done. And I can tell you, that the economic indices globally and nationally has escalated and has gone worse. The $460 million that was secured to execute this contract, whether inflated or not, will be more if we want to execute this project now. This is the negative impact of project slippages. And it is very unfortunate to have a project slippage on a critical project like a security project that has a 13 years to 14 years, project slippage. Till today, we don't have clarity with regards to whether or not some even critical milestones of this project have actually been delivered for us to evaluate from a project evaluation perspective to say 10%, 20%, 50% of this project has been executed, and this is kind of tangible and intangible values that have been gotten out of this 460 billion, even if it is for a matter of face value. There is no clarity with that. So suffice it to say this is sunk cost, on the Nigerian economy, and for the economists, if they do value for money evaluation, this money must have tripled. So these are the negative impacts of such things that are happening. We just hope that we will have progression, positive progression moving forward in this country.
All right. At times like this, when issues like this come out, we expect the EFCC or the ICPC to swoop in to begin to dig into all of the areas, the gray areas, as a way of trying to look for solutions out of it and getting to know who was behind all of this, especially when Minister of Finance is talking about not being not being in the capacity to account for all of those. Talk to us from the window of the fight against corruption, because one would say this could be one of the evidence of issues or complaints of corruption. Talk to us about fighting corruption, especially what confidence you have in the next administration coming in. But we will let you answer this. Okay. Yeah, I understand we have to wrap up now, Veronica.
But if you could just quickly address that perhaps in 2 seconds or 20.
Political will, Veronica and Mike, is what will help us. The agencies of government are not acting because at the top line there is no political will. You know, when the leader takes a position, people follow the body language of the leader. We expect that will happen in the incoming administration. If the top line wants things done, everybody follows too.
All right. We'll leave the conversation here now. Baba Yusuf, strategist, policy analyst, and group CEO, Global Investment and Trade Company. Thank you for your time.